the heart of Abeokuta, under the gaze of the towering Olumo rock, the marketplace came alive each day with the hum of voices, the colors of woven fabrics, and the aroma of freshly harvested yams. The people of Abeokuta were known for their warmth and resilience, their spirits as unwavering as the rocky cliffs that watched over the land. On this particular day, however, amidst the throngs of villagers and traders, fate would bring together two souls from distant lands. Kola, a young man with a quiet strength and a gaze that held a spark of curiosity, walked through the bustling stalls. He had the look of a thoughtful man, one who observed the world with a calm yet searching eye. His days were spent working in his father's fields, his hands calloused from tilling the soil, and his heart full of dreams he rarely voiced. As he strolled through the marketplace that day, he was lost in his own thoughts. He was pondering the path before him, the weight of expectations his family had placed on his shoulders, and the yet unseen future. But, in the midst of these musings, a chance encounter would change his life forever. There, by a stall adorned with shimmering, multicolored fabrics from all corners of the land, stood Chioma. Her beauty was a striking harmony of elegance and quiet strength, her skin aglow under the afternoon sun. She had come to Abeokuta from her village in the east to help her aunt with her trade, bringing with her an unmistakable air of dignity and an aura that seemed to draw people to her. Kola's gaze fell upon her, and for a brief moment, the world around him seemed to fade into silence. Chioma, sensing his gaze, looked up, and their eyes met. In that instant, something unspoken passed between them, an understanding, a spark, a feeling neither could name. He approached her cautiously, unsure of how to explain his sudden interest. She welcomed him with a warm, open smile that eased his uncertainty. "I am Kola," he introduced himself, his voice gentle yet strong, like the river that flows steadily even when unseen. "And you are not from around here, are you?" Chioma's laugh was soft, melodic, like the chiming of bells. "No, I am from the east," she replied, her voice carrying the lilting accent of her Igbo heritage. "My name is Chioma. I am here to help my aunt with her trade." They spoke for only a few minutes, but in those brief exchanges, Kola felt he had known her for a lifetime. Chioma was not like anyone he had ever met. She was grounded, wise beyond her years, and her words held a grace that spoke of deep cultural pride and the warmth of a family that loved her dearly. The days that followed saw Kola returning to the marketplace more often than he usually would. Each day, he found Chioma, and each day, they spoke longer, laughed harder, and discovered more about each other. Chioma, too, found herself enchanted by Kola's gentle spirit and his genuine kindness. He promised her dreams of happiness and spoke of a life together, a future filled with joy and devotion. They were aware of the barriers between them, Kola, a Yoruba man from Abeokuta, and Chioma, a proud daughter of the Igbo land. But these differences only deepened their bond, a bond that defied the expectations of their families and the traditions of their ancestors. Kola's heart grew fonder with each passing day, and Chioma's love for him blossomed like a hidden flower finding sunlight for the first time. But even as they drew closer, the specter of their respective customs loomed over them. For Kola, the journey to marriage would not be a simple one. He knew little of the intricate customs of the Igbo people, and he had no knowledge of the bride price, a sum that would require him to gather wealth far beyond his humble means. Yet, Kola continued to promise Chioma a blissful life, a home filled with laughter, children who would inherit the best of both cultures, and a bond that would withstand the trials of life. Unbeknownst to him, the challenges ahead would test his promises in ways he could not foresee. His love, though pure and deep, would soon collide with the immovable weight of tradition, and the whispers of the elders would soon cast shadows over his dreams. And so, under the vast skies of Abeokuta, the love story of Kola and Chioma began. A story woven with the threads of hope and devotion, but also with the inevitable knots of betrayal, loyalty, and sacrifice. They were bound by a love that would face the trials of fire and emerge, if the fates were kind, unbroken. The days after their first meeting were filled with a quiet blossoming of young love. Kola and Chioma grew close, their conversations stretching into hours, their laughter blending with the sounds of the marketplace. But as the weeks turned into months, the village of Abeokuta began to take notice of Kola's newfound affection. Abeokuta was a community where news traveled faster than the wind, where elders watched from shaded courtyards, and every face in the market had a story to tell. Whispers began to circulate. The people of Abeokuta, proud and steeped in Yoruba tradition, were both curious and concerned. A young man like Kola, born and raised in the heart of Abeokuta, was expected to marry within the Yoruba tribe. Yet, here he was, taken by a woman from Igbo land, a daughter of a distant culture, bound by customs that were foreign to their own. In Chioma's presence, Kola felt a warmth he had never known, a joy that filled the quiet spaces in his heart. She had a way of making him see the world anew, as though every tree and river was suddenly infused with color and light. Chioma, too, was drawn to Kola's quiet strength. He was gentle and attentive, a man who listened deeply, and she felt safe in his presence. She admired his love for his family and his respect for the traditions of his people. But even as her heart grew fonder, an unease lingered, like a shadow cast by a cloud over a sunlit field. Kola's mother, Mama Adenike, had begun to notice her son's frequent visits to the market, his long absences, and the dreamy look in his eyes when he returned home. She was a woman of wisdom and intuition, and though Kola had not yet spoken of his love, she sensed that her son's heart was no longer his own. In the quiet of the evening, as the family sat around the fire, she approached him. "Kola, my son," she began, her voice gentle yet firm, "there is a change in you. Your spirit is light, but your mind is troubled. Tell me, who is this woman who has captured your thoughts?" Kola hesitated, his gaze fixed on the dancing flames. He had long respected his mother's counsel, but he feared that she, like the rest of the village, would not understand his love for Chioma. Still, he could not keep the truth from her. "Her name is Chioma, Mama," he replied softly. "She is kind, strong, and wise. She has a heart as vast as the river, and I have come to love her." Mama Adenike listened in silence, her expression unreadable. After a pause, she spoke. "And where does she come from, this Chioma?" Kola's voice faltered. "She is from the east, Mama. She is Igbo." At this, Mama Adenike's brow furrowed, her eyes filling with concern. "Kola, you know our people have traditions, and the Igbo have theirs. Marriage is not only between two hearts, it is between two families, two tribes. Have you thought of what this will mean for you, for us?" Kola looked away, feeling the weight of his mother's words. He had considered it, but his heart had convinced him that love could overcome any boundary. He looked back at his mother, determination flashing in his eyes. "Mama, I know it will not be easy, but I believe that love is stronger than any tradition. Chioma and I will find a way to honor both our families." Mama Adenike sighed, reaching for his hand. "My son, love is indeed powerful, but it is not enough by itself. You must be prepared for the trials that will come, not only from our family but from hers as well." Kola nodded, but he remained firm. His love for Chioma was like a river that could not be dammed, and he was willing to face any obstacle to be with her. He left that night with a heart that was both hopeful and burdened, his mother's words echoing in his mind. Meanwhile, Chioma was facing her own struggle. She had not yet told her family about Kola, though her heart urged her to do so. She knew her family would have expectations, especially her father, who held to the traditions of their people with unwavering loyalty. She feared that if he knew of Kola, a Yoruba man, he would forbid the union without a second thought. One evening, as she sat by her aunt's stall in the marketplace, Chioma finally shared her secret. Her aunt, Mama Chioma, had always been like a second mother to her, and Chioma trusted her counsel. "Auntie," Chioma began, her voice barely above a whisper, "there's something I must tell you." Mama Chioma looked at her knees, sensing the hesitation in her tone. Go on, my child. Speak your heart. Chioma took a deep breath. I have met someone here, someone who has shown me kindness and love. His name is Kola, and he is from this village. Mama Chioma raised an eyebrow, her eyes narrowing. And is he Igbo, this Kola? Chioma shook her head. No, auntie. He is Yoruba. At this, Mama Chioma sighed deeply. She had seen such unions before, and she knew the challenges that awaited them. Chioma, you know our people. Marriage is not just between two souls. It is a bridge between families, a union of customs and expectations. If you are to be with Kola, you must be prepared for what lies ahead. Chioma's heart pounded, but she was resolute. Auntie, I love him, and I believe that love can unite our families. I am willing to face whatever trials come. Mama Chioma placed a gentle hand on Chioma's shoulder. Then know this, my child, if your love is true, it will be tested. The elders will not take this lightly, and Kola will have to honor the customs of our people if he is to be accepted. The path you have chosen will be long and difficult. As the days passed, the whispers grew louder. The village watched as Kola and Chioma continued to meet, their love blooming against the odds. The elders spoke of tradition, of the dangers of mixing bloodlines, of the need to uphold the customs of their ancestors. But Kola and Chioma remained steadfast, their love a flame that burned brightly even as the winds of doubt tried to snuff it out. They were determined to be together, no matter the cost. Yet, little did they know, the true trials were yet to come. Tradition, family, and fate itself would test their bond, forcing them to confront the depths of their love and the lengths they were willing to go to protect it. And so, the whispers in the wind grew stronger, carrying with them the seeds of a storm that would soon descend upon them. For in the heart of every true love lies a journey that must be traveled through fire, sacrifice, and unyielding faith. It was a warm evening in Abeokuta, and the stars shone like scattered embers in the dark sky. A gentle breeze swept over the village, rustling the leaves and carrying with it the scents of the marketplace. Kola and Chioma had arranged to meet on the edge of the village, by the great baobab tree that stood like a silent guardian over the fields. This spot had become their refuge, a place where they could speak freely, shielded from the prying eyes and disapproving whispers of the villagers. As Kola approached, he saw Chioma waiting beneath the tree, her silhouette outlined against the night sky. She wore a simple, flowing wrapper, and her hair was adorned with a single hibiscus flower. To Kola, she looked like a vision, a gift sent by the gods themselves. Chioma greeted him with a soft smile, her eyes filled with a warmth that instantly put him at ease. "You came," she whispered, her voice carrying a note of relief. Kola took her hands in his, feeling the softness of her skin against his calloused palms. "I would cross rivers and mountains just to see you," he replied, his voice low and filled with promise. For a moment, they stood in silence, simply enjoying the comfort of each other's presence. But beneath the warmth of their embrace lay an unspoken tension, a growing awareness of the challenges that lay before them. "Kola," Chioma began, her tone hesitant, "have you thought about what lies ahead for us? About what it would take for our families to accept this?" Kola nodded slowly, his gaze fixed on the distant horizon. He had spent many sleepless nights thinking about the expectations and customs that stood between them. He knew that marrying Chioma would mean honoring the traditions of her people, and the thought both frightened and overwhelmed him. "I have thought of it, Chioma," he said finally, his voice steady but laced with uncertainty. "But I believe that our love can overcome anything. I am willing to do whatever it takes to make you my wife, even if it means facing the traditions of your people." Chioma's eyes softened, and she placed a gentle hand on his cheek. "Kola, love is strong, but our people's customs are ancient and deeply rooted. To marry an Igbo woman, you would need to fulfill the requirements of our elders, especially the bride price and the marriage rituals. It is a test not only of love, but of commitment and honor." Kola felt a pang of anxiety, but he masked it with a smile. "If that is what it takes, Then I will do it. I will honor your people's customs and show them that my love for you is true. Chioma looked at him, her heart filled with a mixture of love and worry. She knew the weight of her family's expectations. The bride price alone was no small matter. It was a sum that represented not only the union of two people but the joining of two families. For the Igbo people, the bride price was a symbol of respect, a gesture that honored the bride's family and acknowledged her value. "Do you know what you are promising, Kola?" she asked gently. "The bride price is not merely a payment. It is a commitment to my family and to the heritage I come from. My father will not allow us to be together unless he sees that you are prepared to fulfill this tradition." Kola tightened his grip on her hands, his resolve hardening. "Chioma, I will find a way. I may not be a wealthy man, but my heart is rich with love for you. I will work harder than ever before, and I will gather what is required. I will not let tradition keep us apart." Chioma smiled, but her eyes held a glint of sadness. She admired Kola's determination, but she knew the reality of the situation. Kola was a simple man with no wealth of his own, and the bride price demanded by her family would be far beyond his means. Still, she did not want to discourage him. She wanted to believe that somehow their love would find a way. As they stood beneath the stars, Kola made a solemn vow, a promise that would bind his heart to hers. "Chioma, I vow to you, by the light of these stars, that I will do everything in my power to be with you. I will honor your family, I will respect your customs, and I will give you the life I promised. Even if it takes me years, I will come to you, ready to fulfill the demands of your people." Chioma's heart swelled with love, and she embraced him tightly, feeling the strength of his promise. She believed in him, in his heart and his character, and she was willing to face whatever trials lay ahead. For a moment, they were silent, content to simply hold each other. But even in the warmth of their embrace, a shadow lingered, a reminder of the obstacles that still lay between them. Unbeknownst to them, a figure watched from the shadows, hidden behind the great tree. It was an elder from Kola's village, a man who had noticed Kola's frequent absences and had followed him out of curiosity. He had heard the rumors, the whispers of a forbidden love, and now he saw it with his own eyes. The elder shook his head, his face twisted in disapproval. He knew the trouble that could arise from this union, the rift it could cause between families and tribes. As a keeper of tradition, he felt it his duty to intervene, to prevent Kola from straying down a path that would bring dishonor to his people. The next day, word began to spread through the village. Rumors turned to judgment, and judgment turned to concern. Elders gathered in quiet corners, exchanging worried glances and shaking their heads. Some said Kola had lost his way, that he was blinded by love for a woman who did not share his heritage. Others spoke of the dangers of crossing tribal lines, of the curses that could befall those who disrespected the traditions of their ancestors. Kola and Chioma, however, remained blissfully unaware of the storm gathering around them. They met each night under the stars, sharing dreams and whispered promises. They believed that their love could withstand any trial, that together they were stronger than any force that sought to tear them apart. But in the shadows, forces were already at work. The elders had decided to summon Kola, to confront him and make him understand the gravity of his actions. And in Chioma's village, her father was beginning to ask questions, wondering why his daughter had not yet introduced a suitor from among their own people. Their love, once a source of pure joy, was about to face its first true test. The path they had chosen was fraught with obstacles, and as the elders prepared to intervene, Kola and Chioma would soon discover that love alone might not be enough. And so, with hearts full of hope and fear, they stepped forward into the unknown, unaware of the trials that awaited them and the promises that would be tested under the weight of tradition. Alright, thanks for watching this video. Do well to subscribe to our channel and anticipate for part 2.